More to Marketing. Welcome to More to Marketing, the podcast on marketing, product, and everything business. I'm your host, Susan, and today we're going to be having a discussion with someone who does this in real life. And we're talking about design thinking and how it can actually be used as a superpower for your brands and campaigns. Now, I wanted to actually speak to someone who does this practically because it makes a huge difference to hear how it's actually done over years and experience and how it can be used properly. People talk about design thinking, but what is it? So we're going to be talking to Shannon Harris. Shannon is absolute treasure house here. She is Executive Creative Director at Big Communications, which is an award-winning independent agency all the way in Birmingham, Alabama. As the first woman to hold this role in the agency's 28 years, she's now leading a team of 14 people in the creative department, developing impactful, innovative solutions for clients. And these clients range all the way from G-Fiber, FedEx, and even the Texas Children's Hospital, just to name a few. Shannon's creative vision has been recognized with many, many awards and honors. Some of these, and it's only just some of them, include Designer of the Year, Illustrator of the Year, Web Designer of the Year from the Birmingham chapter of the American Advertising Federation. Now, most recently, she has also had a win, and that is in the Communication Arts prestigious 64th photography competition for the visually stunning Looking Beyond campaign. Now, she has a huge passion for design thinking, which is why I have her here today, because she practically does this and helps her clients and also her team make magic happen. She helps and commits to building brands that make a difference. She continues to shape the creative landscape, not just with her agency, but also within her local community. Welcome, Shannon.
Thank you, Susan. It's so lovely to be here with you.
I am very excited to have you here, but tell me more about your journey and how you got to where you are now.
Absolutely. Well, I find myself often kind of explaining all of the kind of anomalies about, kind of me in this industry. And I think that I've done things a little bit unconventionally along the way. I've been doing this for nearly 20 years. I've been with BigCom for 15 years now. We are actually turning 30 this year, this summer. Incredible. So I've been with the agency for half of its life. And I think that's fairly unconventional. I am a mom. I think what 1% of creative directors are female. I don't know what percentage are moms, but it's certainly, its own challenge. And I know you are as well. So you know what I'm talking about.
Definitely. Definitely challenges, but also creative challenges too.
And eye-opening and inspiring and wonderful. So, and then the other thing I think that is a little bit unconventional is that that I do have a graphic design degree, and I went to Auburn University, which has a very rigorous design program, and I took everything from processes and typography classes to pottery and painting and all of the above. And I think that there is something really powerful about being a visual communicator and being able to get ideas on paper and to be able to iterate and to be able to prototype and to be able to bring those ideas to people in a way that feels a little bit formed so that they can react. And I'm just so grateful for that background. And I find it to be, maybe a bit unusual in this field. And I guess there's one more. I do live in Birmingham, Alabama, which is kind of an unusual place to be, practicing advertising and working for, a small indie shop that has been so fortunate to work with so many national and international clients, as well as being able to really take care of our home and shift perceptions about our state. We're not always, presented in the best light in the news, and some of our behavior can be what it is. But I think I've had an amazing opportunity to create campaigns and brands that have shifted perceptions, have invited more innovative people to join our state and move here and bring businesses, and that's something that's really special, I think, about working at a small agency in kind of a less conventional place for advertising.
And that also touches in for you don't only think about your clients, but also what you can do for your own business to bring in that different thinking processes in, to make people actually see things how they really are and not be using prejudice that they don't actually have the right data information for.
That's right. That's right. And I think, there are certainly steps around design thinking, and I'm not an expert. I haven't written a book on design thinking, but I am certainly, in practice thinking about how to bring this idea of empathy into our work every day. And I think it's really, really important to me to remain open and to ask lots and lots of questions, sometimes reframing problems. I mean, it's really kind of traditional problem solving kind of assumes the problem is clear. And design thinking assumes it's not. And so I think there's a lot of magic there, and it's nonlinear. It can be a little bit of a loop. And I think it takes some humility, and it takes a lot of kind of making friends with your ego to say, I'm not a or a creative director genius. I'm, a guide, and I'm helping us all work through this process to where we arrive at an answer that is really powerful and resonates.
I think that's really important for everyone to understand, that it's having a guide there to help you work through what is the real questions to ask to help solve the problem you really have. Because a lot of companies I've seen just jump straight into solution mode. They don't even go through all those processes that we're going to touch on in a second, because they're just so focused on the end. They forget about that middle part that really needs to have time and dedication to.
That's right. That's right. I mean, process is so important. I think it's important in a lot of fields. In design, certainly. My grandfather and my great grandfather were both architects, and I really enjoyed. After my grandfather passed, I ended up with all of his carousel slides, all of his Kodak carousel slides. And as I was, got a slide projector, and I'm going through them, and it's vacation photos of he and my grandmother, and then it's this Knoll showroom, and we were looking at furniture, and then all of a sudden it's skate parks and skate parks and skate parks. And I found out that, well, he designed a skate park for the town I grew up in Huntsville, Alabama, a little bit north of here. And, at the time he had to travel out to LA and go take photos of skate parks. Like there were no, there were no online resources, nothing like that. And he did this incredible deep dive. And now I have all of these process photos of, the skate park discovery and this kind of incredible gathering of inspiration in entire groups of slides that are just window details. And I'm just like, oh, he must have been really, into concrete here and things like that. And I really enjoy that level of deep diving, and look for that from my team, and really appreciate when they bring their thinking to the process and bring others along for the ride, because I think it's, when I see the team rally around an idea and everyone's fired up and just like shouting out ideas and contributing to it, I know we've got something with traction and legs. I know there's something that we're going to make there that's great. And we can't kind of access that without sharing with each other, and without having that vulnerability of saying, hey, this is what's in my head, or these are the things that I've gathered to think about. And so I think there's really a lot that I did learn in design school, and just, my background with my family. My mother was an illustrator, and she was a technical illustrator, and it was all about kind of instructions. And just kind of having that process oriented mindset. It's really where it's come in handy so much is when we are working with, larger brands with in-house departments, whether it's Google Fiber or FedEx or, whoever it is, and they're evolving their brand standards, and we're kind of jumping right in there with them and ideating and sharing, and they've got ideas and they've got vision, and then we're bringing vision, and that collaborative kind of environment that I've really worked hard to build at this agency, I think really comes across for clients in a way that's powerful, and a little bit refreshing, I hope.
It's also that passion behind it. So being involved, having everyone wanting to speak, having that open room where you can be vulnerable, you can just put a thought out there, because that might spark someone else.
That's right. That's right. And I I worked with my husband for 18 years at two different agencies. Isn't that wild? He's recently, started a new job, but my home life, with my 5-year-old and my husband, we are constantly ideating, constantly gathering inspiration, constantly kind of trying to find this like really interesting tangential moments. I mean, we go on vacation and we sit on the beach and we come up with, we hatch plans and concept. And it's just, totally embarrassing to actually, I don't know why I said all of that out loud, but it's, but it's just part of our lives. And it's a lot of fun to get to do it with clients. And I've been very fortunate to get to work with some really talented people on the client side, whether they're, CMOs or internal creative teams. And really just, being a part of that process with people is just such a joy.
I think that's the whole part of it, isn't it? You want it to be joyful. You don't want it to, because that will resonate with whatever the final design is. Mm-hmm. If it comes out boring and laborious, it will come off that way too.
That's right. And we're looking for, solutions that are exciting and do resonate. And, a lot of times I think about, we'll enter a relationship with a client and, maybe they bring their brand standards, but I can almost guarantee after a couple of years, those brand standards have evolved and become richer and changed because we have designers on staff and we're able to really kind of affect and shift. I mean, their brand along the way is needed to work for their needs. And I think that's, a lot of times clients will need to go to, a design shop, they'll need to go to a branding firm and then, a media shop over here, and they need their marketing agency, they need their PR agency. And being a part of, we're small, but we're able to integrate all of those things together in a way that kind of works, kind of in parallel path all at the same time and in a way that's collaborative. Working through a campaign right now I'm so excited about, and I'm very deeply knee deep in collaboration with our media team and making sure that everything that we've created is truly fit for platform, and that kind of what we've presented to the client is going to appear from a paid media standpoint in a way that's accurate and kind of what we've shared with them, and it's a lot of fun to kind of be in those spreadsheets and to be in the moment of kind of building out the real thing.
Yeah, I think this is perfect time. Let's talk about your process when you're going through this for this client. And I know it's such an exciting new way of looking as well, and a new proposition out in the market. What are the steps you first go through when you get that first client brief and you're just like, wow, this is actually new, exciting territory?
Well, with this one in particular, we were asked to join a pitch process. It's a wonderful brand called David Austin Roses. They are a brand that has been around since 1961. They got their start in the garden rose. They really created the English rose, and in that in their own right in the garden world, they're very, very internationally well known. And they are bringing a new product to market, and it is a direct-to-consumer pet stem bouquet brand. And so they're shipping beautiful bouquets of roses to the U.S. We're launching in the U.S. By the time this airs, I believe we'll have launched, and we're helping them bring it to a U.S. market. And what's been really fun is that they've brought this kind of a lot of a brand vision around this idea of roses having almost this human-like quality. And they assign these kind of muses, these women, these names, and they've named them after women. And it's just incredible. Jo Bird, she is a fabulous creative director on the client side. And we have had so much fun kind of getting to that brand tone and voice and that messaging together, and that really kind of refined look and feel. And a part of, I think, why they selected our agency is because we did hear them on brand tone. We did understand what they were trying to do. And I think, a lot of times agencies will kind of come into these pitch moments and say, I see you brought me, this and that. Here's our big idea. And I think that yeah, and not listen. And I think it's just, we've built this, I think, beautiful friendship across the pond, and, helped them with how do we speak to an American audience. And really, early on, that was the audience conversation was really top of mind, and how do Americans feel about, English roses, or what do we desire? And I think that there was a lot of research. We've got our strategy department, and there was a lot of thought put behind it, and a lot of materials that for me to review. And then there's also our own experience, and there's growing up in the South and all of the etiquette classes that I went through, which is just funny to think about. And but I think that there were so there was some crossover there in the kind of English way of thinking, and the way that I was brought up in Alabama. And we had a lot of fun thinking about that and talking about, what hospitality means, and how do we, kind of be kind of quietly luxurious. And so we spent a lot of time there, spent a lot of time thinking about language, and really putting together iterations, and spending time with the client, and spending time with each other. Is this right? Do we need to shift the tone a little bit in this direction? What was the intention here? And this is one where the client brought a lot to the table, and I was able to kind of be almost this conduit and this bridge between their thought and vision, and bring some kind of marketing vision to that, and say, how are we gonna package this and kind of create this campaign to launch. In some instances, we're working on a brand for a Southeastern tech conference right now. And
very different.
It's very different. Oh, we're all over the place. We've done everything from motor oil to let's see, marinades and wing sauces, hospitals. And I think that you can really have a lot of variety in your day, and in the verticals that you do work with, if you do have kind of a way of being in a defined process. And we have this kind of agency position that we make a big damn deal out of everything, and that is because we are always thinking about how to take that client brief and bring something to it that really creates something more powerful than the client may have imagined. And, with this tech conference, we are in the kind of early stages, and we have a meeting in the morning for, kind of an iteration of that brand look and feel. But our team really dug deep in research, and created the research decks are just like as entertaining and as interesting as anything that kind of is the output on the other end. And it makes it a lot of fun, and it helps kind of in those client conversations to be able to go back and say, this is what we were kind of trying to pull through from that phase, and this is how that's. But it sounds like you want to shift this way, so we'll gather more inspiration here, and kind of think about things a little bit more abstractly, and then bring that through. So I think being kind of open like that in the beginning allows us to not get too precious about ideas, and I think that's something that it's preview, don't premiere. And I think that you have those moments where you have to go into a pitch, and you have to give this monologue and have this moment, this kind of this kind of one-shot moment. But in the day-to-day and in the process with the client, I really do think it is important to kind of have that kind of ideation and prototyping moment where you're bringing them along for the ride, and you're willing to enjoy feedback.
I think feedback's key, isn't it? And continually going back in and doing those presentations and sense checks. Like, is this what you're envisioning? Is this the right direction? Because it'd be easy to really fall in love with an idea and not want to give it up.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's always and in this world, we like to stay playful, not precious. And in this world, I think a lot of times you're always kind of trying to find that line where how much do I protect this idea? You don't want the whole thing to kind of unravel, and the intention of it to disappear. And so I think there's always that, where's that line? But I do think that building close relationships with your clients where you are kind of thinking out loud in front of them and allowing them to think out loud in front of you, allows for those moments where, they may give feedback or have thoughts. And I think it's important to let your clients know where they've improved the work. And then, it makes it a lot easier when there is feedback that kind of changes the narrative or shifts things in a way that may affect other things. It's so much easier to communicate that and say, actually what happens with that feedback is, this changes, or the what we're communicating changes. And so I think, just really having that open dialogue just takes a lot of the pain that can be in this business out, because you're just being human with each other and being open and not kind of gripping with ego and not being too precious about it.
And I think that goes back to one of your first points about the power of empathy and how that really can impact the design thinking process along the way. So if you've got strong empathy, therefore you're going to be more open to communicating, to feedback, to changes, to iterations, to what it actually changes and turns into if it does have a pivot happen too.
That's right. And so I think it's it's empathy empathy and understanding for the audience that you're communicating to, and then also in the process with the team internally, and with the client. I think it's that kind of, I guess, a 360 empathy that is really important all around. And I think in the end, if you're able to kind of connect with the audience in that kind of empathetic, powerful way, and then also kind of I like to say, mostly I would just like to have a lovely day. Like I like to have a nice day. And I think that this business can be very stressful. And I think I've made, a lot of decisions about my life, to the effect of kind of wanting to just have a beautiful life and have that quality of life. I live in some very, very nice, suburbs with, award-winning schools, but I'm less than 10 minutes from my office, and I can go to a James Beard award-winning, restaurant, and dine with, a chef that I know, and I think there's that beautiful, thing that I think a lot of people are chasing in kind of big cities that, I made the choice early on. I made the choice alongside my husband. We made the choice early on to build our careers and build our lives and our friendships in the kind of city that we would want to end up in one day, so that we didn't have to start over. And I think it's been a lot of fun to help an agency grow, from, there were, just over 10 people at the agency when I got there. And I think it's just been a really rewarding experience to go from kind of winning our first statewide client, to now, doing this project with our UK client. And we've done international work and a lot of national work. And it just feels really rewarding to be able to do that from this place that I love and call home.
And that also helps bring that joy in as well, doesn't it?
Where
you've got that flexibility. We were talking earlier about remote working. And because you have such a diverse team, it just works so well, because you're also open and collaborative, which means that all these processes are really exciting for everyone to be part of. And that means the client is going to get the best result, but also the consumer is going to get a very engaging, different type of campaign that's going to excite them and pique interest for them to seek further information.
Yes. And I think, the CEO that founded our agency, he founded it, with a laptop, just a kind of a one-man show in 1995. And he is very open to learning as well, and bringing in, experts, bringing in outside people, bringing in, he's always surprising us with people. The people that he kind of brings around for us to learn from. I think it's been I feel like it's almost this kind of, different kind of challenge to say, how do I grow and change and evolve and while staying in the same place? And it's, you face yourself over and over and over again. You can't run from yourself, right? You can't get a new job, and now all of the habits that were affecting me at this other job are just, they evaporate because my environment's the only thing that changed. That's not real, and that doesn't. And I think it's been really cool to be a part of, one company, but get to work with so many different diverse clients, so many different, diverse people and remote teammates, but then also kind of have the core group of people that I've spent, some of them a decade with, because you have that vulnerability that you build and that muscle memory. We're working on answering an RFP right now, and we have, I know the people that I'm working with on it so deeply that it's just, we can move quickly. And I think that's a really powerful thing too. So I'm trying to sell this mid-market, small ad agency thing to people. I think it's really, it's a special thing.
It really is. And it also means that you're still grounded and rooted enough that you know the end customers.
Mhm.
You're not as far removed as some of those bigger agencies that put their blinkers on and don't evolve and don't change over time. I think their big vision is it, and they don't listen. And that's where your agencies, where they're more humbler, they listen, they actively listen to what's being said, are winning more and more of these tenders because they are doing what is needed to be done for the client and ultimately for the customer too.
I mean, and every opportunity is exciting for us. I think it's, it doesn't even have to be like the sexiest opportunity. We're just so excited. Anytime we get our hands on any brand or any kind of big assignment like the David Austin one. And I think it's something that's really special about this city is I think we've, been through a lot with like, everything, civil rights, and really a lot of change has begun in the city because of that. And I think that when a city has, kind of had little and been through a lot of turmoil, we're really grateful for the things that we do have. When a new restaurant opens here, I mean, we go nuts and we all support it, and we're just so proud of it. And I think I think that kind of spirit really exists in this agency. And in the lines, I mean, we're all residents of Birmingham. I walked outside of the office this week, and there was some big tour group. Like I said, wow, we've arrived. There's some tour group. I don't know what they're touring or what's going on, but we must be doing something right, I should have asked. What are you looking at? Why are you looking at our office building? But I think that there is a lot of kind of fascinating history here. And there's just, yes, that humbleness of just being grateful for the opportunities as they come. And really, getting excited to sink our teeth into them.
I love it. But I'm sure there's also challenges that come along the way as well. So we know that some of them are definitely going to be in general business where you go against bigger creative teams that might have been there, done something similar. But I'd assume there's also some challenges and pitfalls that come into trying to shape a campaign using your processes of design thinking and everything. You've got a fabulous campaign, but then you're being asked to put it onto all these different types of mediums and media as well. How do you approach those challenges where you're trying to convert something that not only does it go on the side of a bus, a movie theater ad, in a magazine, how do you ensure that, I suppose, the core message is still there and the brand integrity is kept through your processes?
Oh, that is just the beauty of having an office full of designers that are able to quickly put things on paper. And by that, I mean in the beginning of the process, as we're beginning to mid process, as we're starting to throw spaghetti at the wall, where we've got lines, we've got images, we've got, different visual thoughts. We are thinking about all of those canvases and all of those kind of legs that the campaign needs to have from the beginning. If it's a singular idea that can't extend, it typically gets thrown out or gets kind of sidelined until it can grow. I do think that having the in-house media capabilities that we do have, and having those moments of getting to collaborate with them, I get to kind of understand the media strategy pretty early. I get my, kind of media flow chart. I love to see all of the, are we, more video driven? Are we, is this, purely a social campaign? Is there outdoor? Those things are important. But I think regardless, I always challenge my team to think about how an idea can carry through. There's nothing worse than shooting. Early on in my career, I remember shooting a rather funny TV spot, and then found out after the fact that there were print ads, and I had no photos. I mean, just one of those just
Yep.
early rookie mistakes at another agency, and I just remember, just thinking, not only do I not have photography, but this idea does not translate to print, and I don't know what I'm going to do. Got this great spot. So I think, making those decisions early, of course, from a media standpoint, but then also knowing what you would do if you did need to extend to kind of another medium. But and a lot of times we kind of do that process, and then we end up making some really cool stuff out of it. We just launched a campaign last year for our state called Seek Alabama, where it's really kind of connecting our outdoor assets to tech entrepreneurs and that kind of innovation audience. And one of the things that we just mocked up to see how it would feel was that this kind of beautiful van kind of trade show experience, and then we got to partner with Storyteller Overland, which is a local company that's converting the Sprinter vans kind of into these really, really, really cool adventure mobiles. And that was a kind of a mock-up and a test, and then we thought, wait, that's a really good idea. And so let's kind of reach out and see if we can build a partnership. And so I think as you're kind of doing that and testing the legs and kind of thinking about different canvases, a lot of times recommendations can come out of that. And it's a lot of fun. So
I think that's definitely I think a weakness of a lot of campaigns. Is a lot of the CMOs or marketers will go in and just purely just think of that one campaign moment. I want a social campaign to build awareness for X, blah, blah, blah. And with the amount of time and effort that goes into a lot of these campaigns, there's so much more that can be done with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I like to say we like to solve problems, not solve solutions. So anytime, someone comes to us and says, we'd like an animated PSA, and we had recently an AIDS organization come to us and say, we want an animated PSA and some instructional videos. And then we ended up kind of ideating these NFT stickers for bathrooms for people to kind of tap their phones, and just all of the ideas that kind of come along with kind of creating a campaign out of what might be a singular ask is something that's really important to me. I think there's nothing worse than going into a briefing and somebody telling you to don't overthink it, like because I'm always gonna kind of take it maybe a little bit too far, or ask the team to really elevate it to kind of a higher level. And then, and you have to balance that, of course, with the expense of the time and all of those things. And so there's a lot of the, that kind of thing I have to do kind of on my end that I don't like to bother the team too much with. But yeah, finding those places to be open and ideate and kind of elevate the ask. And, with the Seek campaign, we launched that in Alabama first, and then partnered with Fast Company, Innovation Fest, and drove that van through New York, through Times Square, and just kind of had this really great big moment of innovators in New York, and kind of putting Alabama on that stage and really hoping to kind of shift perceptions. That campaign is really fascinating. The client is Innovate Alabama, and they conducted a study about how to really support and accelerate the tech ecosystem, innovation ecosystem in our state. And one of the things that came out of that report was that what Alabama has to offer, that feels unique or feels in line with some of these other states or cities where innovation is happening, is that we have beautiful and robust outdoor recreation resources. So we have, caves, we have beaches, we have, you can kayak, you can fish, you can climb, you can do all of these things, or bird watching. we are the most biodiverse state in the country. So just the different species of things that live in this state. And so there's a lot there that's special, but we had to say, how do we take that thought and what's, really, really amazing about this state, and how do we connect that to innovators and people
Technology,
start
yeah.
people, right? And so we created a brand called Seek AL, and it's about this idea of kind of that type of person, that innovation pioneer, that type of person that seeks both kind of adventure out, the kind of person that might, go spelunking in a cave or climb a mountain, is maybe the same type of brave person that's going to take that leap and, get that funding and, and bring that startup to life. And, there is a lot of, there are a lot of transcendent moments that happen in the outdoors, and we, did our own independent research, but then also really found that personality type is also drawn to that adventure and those kind of transcendent moments outdoors. And so it was a lot of fun to build that campaign. And we just really kind of zeroed in on this word seek, because that's what they're doing. They're kind of seeking something new, and they're seeking that lifestyle, or that quality of life that I'm talking about, right? I've got I'm right here on the Cahaba River, and I've got I'm surrounded by trees and the mountain. I'm 7 minutes from downtown. I've got a pool in my backyard. The quality of life here is phenomenal, and
I'm jealous.
really come visit, come visit, come on over. I've got a guest room because I live in Alabama, and I can have a guest room in Alabama, right? So I think it's really we're constantly kind of speaking to that quality of life, and but also really connecting it with those entrepreneurs. And I'm so excited we're kind of working on what happens next with that campaign, but really introducing it in that way felt really powerful. So those are the kind of things that I get to do for the state, and really be a part of kind of the next wave of talent that moves here.
I love it. And it just goes through the process as well of what you did to get there as well, to ensure that it was elevated, it was doing something magical, and actually got to go beyond the boundaries of the original brief as well, because you
for sure
research on it.
And one of the things that we really paid a lot of attention to was that we're not just bringing a campaign to life to attract these people to the state. We needed to kind of package all of this in a brand that felt like we were really branding the outdoor lifestyle in the state. And the brand needed to feel like it could live at home at at REI or Patagonia, and kind of live alongside brands like that. So even the colors that we chose, and the typography, and a lot of the just kind of visual encodes from a design standpoint really spoke back to that. And we kind of took our client through that journey. And there were times that it was, complicated to say, why are we creating this brand new brand to deliver this message? And I think it took a lot of kind of collaboration with our client for us all to be really excited and comfortable with that, and bring it to life. So
I love it.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see the further results that come out of it, because it's going to be a brand, a brand and campaign that continues and iterates on.
Absolutely. And, those are some of the most rewarding things that I've worked on at this agency have been, initiatives like that have lasted, decades and decades. I mean, I'm actually pulling up the case study right now. So far we've had 48.6 million branded impressions. We've reached 50 states and 19 countries with this campaign. We've built this really beautiful website that maps all of the state's outdoor assets. So we've got this interactive map. I've got an amazing interactive team at the agency, so we can just be really innovative in that space as well.
Well, definitely send me that link, and
I cannot wait to send you that link. Yeah. And I also, I'm out here just selling Alabama left and right. I didn't really mean to do that, but here we are.
I love it. And that's it. And that's the beauty of it, of the design thinking has helped you in your journey of you found your forever home. You found a company that just touches everything that you love. You're very fortunate that your husband joins you in that journey. You're able to work globally, and really help the community, which I know you're very passionate for too. So that
Yes.
whole journey and process of your own design thinking process has come together.
That's right. You better not catch me complaining.
No, we know your daughter will tell you off.
She will. She sure will. She will let me know. She will let me know if I fuss too much. So, and that is, I was, we were talking, before we hit record about our children and just kind of what they teach us. And I had this really lovely. I was reading The Velveteen Rabbit to her last night. She wanted to read The Velveteen Rabbit, and I was thinking about the all of the thing about like kind of having soft edges and like the not having those hard edges, and that idea of just becoming real. It's powerful to read children's books every night. I mean, I highly recommend it for anyone. I don't think you need to have kids to read a children's book. Read yourself to sleep every night. And it's a wonderful thing. I did, on another mom note, I was the secret reader at preschool this week, and I found out that I can read upside down. The kids couldn't see. I mean, I'm so excited about it. I've never had like a really good talent show act, but and maybe everyone can do it, but I've never tried it. And so now,
lucky it's big print.
Really, yes, it's big print, and I do have it did rhyme, but I'm still pretty proud of it. But yeah, you have those moments where parenthood is a humbling experience. You go from kind of thinking you have everything figured out to just knowing nothing overnight. And so I'm really on this lovely, I told you earlier, I just turned 41 last week, this lovely journey of just being surrounded by teachers, including my 5-year-old, and being open to those learnings. And I mean, I guess that's design thinking in my family life as well.
Exactly. And now, before we wrap up, is there any final things you'd like to add?
Oh, I don't know. Gosh, I could say anything.
You could.
Which, I will say, on that note, what I will say is that I think that people often think that creative people desire pure creative freedom, like in this moment, this blank page. And I don't believe that that's necessarily true. I think constraint breeds ingenuity, and we do really well when we have like at least like one little corner kind of defined. And then we can really kind of openly explore and play in that sandbox and start to build those edges as we go. And then, at some point we kind of complete the process and it's whole and it's defined. Yeah, I would just urge anyone working with anyone creative in your life, give them just give them a little corner, just give them a little something.
Yep.
Just a little something, to chew on. And I think that initiates and ignites all of the questions that kind of turn the final product into something really special.
I love that. I'm now just going to do a quick wrap up of all the things that I took out of the session. So just give me one moment.
Awesome.
So today we were talking to someone practically about how do you actually use design thinking when going about creating campaigns or briefing people in to do campaigns. Because it's all well and good to read a book on it, but unless you've actually done it, you actually don't know how to get started. So that's why we had Shannon come on board today. Now, for me, a lot of it came about how to actually start the conversations. So it's about understanding what the brand vision is for this campaign. So what's the tone? What's the voice? The look and feel? Do we know the audience? Do we know what the desire is? What language people need to have it in as well? And a lot of the questions on the how. And by spending time with an agency, you're actually able to build something creative together. And it's all about the iterations, prototyping, asking questions, but going back to one particular question of what's the intention here? Is it what we actually wanted to set out for? Because if you don't do that, then you're not going to be able to ideate, collaborate, or innovate well together. Questions are fabulous. We love them. And particularly thinking in the vein of empathetic questions, no egos, nothing is stupid. Any question is a good question. Get that vulnerability out there too, because you don't know what's going to spark something that can be reframed. And then you're helping to solve something, because it's not about coming up with a solution straight away. It's going on that journey to reframe the problem to then come out with the right outcome of what the solutions will look like. And this is where the brief helps. So, as Shannon just said, give them something, not everything, but at least a direction, because that
Just
will
a
help.
bite.
That will definitely help. But working together, you build that relationship by bouncing ideas off each other. You're going to get something more robust as well, because you don't want to be precious on one idea. That idea could morph and develop into something that is so much more powerful for what it started out as. So be open and be very open to all the feedback, because feedback is precious. It is gold. Now, one other thing that is amazing to know is diversity. So, diversity in people, in thought, in processes all make a difference in the creative process of design thinking, because then you can take a design brief that might say, hey, I just want a social post created. I want 20 of them, and I want them all to be on this campaign theme. Yeah, you could just do that. But if you are going to give real value, if you're really listening, if you're actually going to look beyond what this campaign could be and know how it could impact the brand and also the consumer, you'd give them more. You'd show them how it could be iterated into all the different channels, canvases, mediums, media, all of those, to actually resonate better and connect better with who it needs to go to. Because all media is different. Audiences are everywhere. Everything is changing. So you need to be able to be that voice of reason to the client and say, yeah, that's great, social, yeah, but have you thought about how it integrates to your website and your emails in these other campaigns you might be doing? Do you know this could be actually something that is annual? Do you know something you can do with a partner? There's so much more you can do when you bring that design thinking into the process at the beginning to develop something magical at the end. But remember, ultimately, you are the guide. You're there to help guide the process, shift the thinking, shift the perceptions, and bring out something that will last a lifetime at the end. Have I missed anything, Shannon?
I think you nailed it.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much
Thank
for your time.
you. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, we'll be adding Shannon's details for LinkedIn and also the link to now, what is it? What is our Alabama site we go to?
Seekalabama.com. Seekalabama.com.
Yep. I'll make sure that's in the show notes as well, everyone. And don't forget to add more to marketing to your playlist so you don't miss out on more fabulous guests in the future.
And bigcom.com if you'd like to learn more about the agency.
Definitely, that will be on the show notes as well. More to marketing.